No, I'm kidding. That's because he's an asshole.
I regret nothing.
Welcome to Roll&Reveiw, where we talk about all things nerdy and awesome. I'm Jim.
And I'm Alex.
This week on the Roll&Reveiw show, we got a bunch of movie news. Gonna go over 3 new comics this week, and our main discussion, DLCs in video games.
All right, let's kick it off with doing our little discussion about comics, including a personal request from an actual comic author to review one of his stuff. So, Jim, take that away.
Yeah, so we're just going to start with that because I'm not messing around with that because I respect this guy way too much. So if you're following us on Twitter, you might have seen that I tweeted about picking up All-Star Batman today, and Scott Snyder messaged us back and said he couldn't wait to hear what we think of the new book, and so that's what we're starting with, All-Star Batman. And I gotta say, it was fantastic. First of all, there are actually 2 stories in there. Kind of the main one and then a shorter one at the end. But both of them kind of captivate you at the very beginning. And so it's one of these stories that from the get-go I was in on. This is a huge, fast-paced, high-octane story, the main one, where Batman and Two-Face are kind of trying to resolve that issue for good. And it gets crazy from issue 1.
Define resolve, Jim.
Harvey Dent's mind in Two-Face basically wants Bruce Wayne to go burn the Two-Face side out of him for good. It's really good. I'm trying to do as spoiler free as possible. There's already an insane twist, issue 1, and it looks like if this is done right, which I think it will be, because Scott Snyder has been nothing but a great writer.
Kiss ass.
No, I mean, he did a New 52 Batman, and his run was probably one of the best Batman runs that there is.
No bunny ears?
I'm a kiss ass. No. Okay, there's no. All right. Scott Snyder's going to listen to this and be like, well, hate those guys. Never going to go on their show.
Hey,
awesome.
If I didn't respect you, I wouldn't give some playful banter.
Fair. But All-Star Batman, I completely endorse. Go pick it up if you haven't already. This is a book you're going to be wanting to follow for the foreseeable future, because this isn't a book that is only a miniseries where they only said it's 8 issues or 12 issues. They didn't really say how long it'll go, and the letter at the back insinuates that Scott Snyder has a lot of Batman stories that he wants to tell that he couldn't in the one narrative that he wrote for the New 52 Batman. So this is his time to do all those stories he wanted to do.
Where does this Batman fall into Rebirth? Is this part of the same universe, or is this a different Earth?
So this, while it never actually says outright that this is the same universe, it does fall into the continuity, I believe, of this new Rebirth universe, where he has his new suit. You see him with the new partner he has, which he got in the Rebirth series, or he invited in the Rebirth series. So my best guess would be that this does happen in continuity with all the rest.
All right. Sounds like something we can all really look forward to, and with the good stuff to come. Absolutely.
The next book I want to cover is from Roar Comics, which is a small independent that we don't normally cover, but it's called the 3 O'Clock Club. And this book is interesting. So the basic premise of this book is that at this high school at 3 o'clock
I'm getting some Breakfast Club vibes going on here. What's going on?
A little bit, yeah. So at 3:00 when school's over, kind of the stress and the vibes of the students allows for these monsters of their own constructs to come out of a portal at the school, and it's only these 5 people who can actually remember what happens afterwards, because once the monster goes back into the portal, however they get it through, and at a certain time, everything resets back to 3:00. Everything's normal, and nobody remembers what happened except for these 5 people. So it's an interesting story for sure. The characters
sounds like
at least have some decent backstory. The art's pretty good. I actually enjoyed the artwork and their explanation of how these how like the monsters are created. Actually gives, in our suspended disbelief of all things crazy because of comics, their explanation of how this world works, or at least how this portal works, actually does give some explanation to it.
So this is Breakfast Club meets Ghostbusters?
Yeah, except they're not going to lose a crap ton of money on it. Couldn't help myself. We can talk about that during the movie news section. It's a decent book. If that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, pick it up. You won't be disappointed. But it's not one of the books I'm going to say you have to go pick up. The last comic we're going to talk about is the All New, All Different Avengers Annual. So
a lot of A's in that title.
There are far too many A's in that title. Like 4 of them that start words. It's upsetting. So this whole comic, it's kind of a jokey comic. As most annuals are, it doesn't have really anything to do with the actual main story that's going on. It's just something fun for them to do some other side stories. Matter of fact, an artist we interviewed at C2E2, Jay Fosgett, got to draw for this comic. So a little shout out to him so we interviewed him. So you can go back and watch that interview. But so we'll put
the link to that video in the description, because nobody seemed to watch it the first time.
Nobody did.
It still is my favorite joke in our entire channel on
it. Well, good for you.
And
but so, I mean, this book has nothing to do with the universe. It's fun. It's jokey. But I know, as a lot of comic book people are, aka a lot of my friends, you can't buy every book you want because you only have so much money, and this is one that you could pass up. The one kind of fun thing about it, if you do have that money to buy this book and want the A cover and the B cover, if you put those 2 together for this and you buy All New, All Different Avengers number 13 that came out this week too, when you put them next to each other, it creates one image. The covers match up perfectly with each other. It's the Alex Ross covers, and he's a great artist that I know a lot of people are fans of. So
I know
if you like that art, his covers.
Because we were talking about this before a little bit, and you said it sounds a little bit like a cash grab because of the extra variants. But how cool does this one image look?
The image looks pretty cool. I mean, the main characters on it is Sam Wilson, Captain America, Vision, and Iron Man.
Yeah.
I believe.
Because I know some people who would buy covers with no intention of reading the story at all, just because they think the cover looks really cool. And those are fun things that they can like frame on, they can either frame it up on their wall, like use as wallpaper, like decorate a desk or a counter or something like that.
Yeah. And if you want a really well done piece of comic book artwork plus something that fits together with a couple other books, This is the one. This is the one to do it on because Alex Ross is a fantastic artist, and his covers were Secret War covers. He's a well-established artist, and his quality is A+ stuff. So it's definitely something. If you like that artwork, absolutely pick it up. But my feeling with variant covers, just in general, are that they're way too overused, and they're kind of just a cash grab by Marvel, DC, just to kind of boost their sales so that they can say, we sold 10 million issues. Unfortunately, really, you only sold a third of that because everyone bought 3 different covers. So you're not really circulating as much as you're kind of propping yourself up to. But hey, it looks good on the books, and people keep buying them, so they're not going to stop.
Yeah, moving into movie news, the majority of it's going to be DC related, but quick shout out for just a reminder that Rogue One is coming out this Christmas. There was a new TV spot if you're watching the Olympics, since it's kind of taken over the world the past few days. There's
Shocker.
a TV spot for Rogue One where they do like the motivational talk, throw in some of the Olympic athletes, and throw in, I think there's like maybe a few more seconds of new footage, but it's nothing that we really haven't seen before. But it still looks cool. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited for that movie. They haven't ruined it with too many obnoxious trailers yet, so hopefully they don't.
Well, Star
Disney's
Wars
been really good about that, so.
The Force Awakens did a great job with that too. I feel like their marketing campaign for Force Awakens was absolutely flawless.
Nothing for me to be upset about there.
No, so if they keep running it the same as they have before, I say we just keep going for it, just how they're doing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right?
But however, something that is broken does definitely need fixing: the DC Extended Universe.
Oh, God.
Yeah, with the trend of Suicide Squad just came out this past weekend, and while it hit great numbers, I'm going to predict probably a 55 to 60% drop on the second weekend. That's mine right now. Just because people are saying it's very fun and there's a bit of rewatchability, but it's just so jumpy and so convoluted, it doesn't make a lot of sense, that it doesn't look that good for the DC universe right now. They kind of forgot in their rush to make a universe that in order to make a universe, you need movies to be in the universe. And
yeah, I mean, the one thing that I think might save it is because of the kind of almost flop of Batman v Superman. A lot of people weren't going to go see it that first night and making sure they saw it the first weekend. A lot more people were willing to kind of wait for weekend 2.
Yeah, but how many of those people, after hearing all the reviews, are going to be like, I don't want to be disappointed. I'm not going to spend my money on this.
Well, and the one saving grace to it is that it is a fun movie. Yes. And so while there's not tons of rewatch ability about it, the first viewing, is still something you might want to go do because despite the flaws, it is still kind of a fun movie.
Yeah. So not to stab an even already bleeding horse again, but we got more movie news with Aquaman that his villain is going to be Black Manta. And if the DC universe makes it 2018, we'll be looking forward to that. Because of all the people in the Justice League besides Wonder Woman, I kind of like the look of Aquaman. I think if they do him right, he can be pretty badass.
Yeah. I mean, just from what we've seen in the trailers of Justice League, I think Jason Momoa looks pretty badass and awesome. And if they make Black Manta, who's really an iconic Aquaman villain, kind of match how badass Jason Momoa looks, I don't think there's going to be a problem there with him as the villain at all. I'm pretty happy that Black Manta is the villain. So
I'm just going to wonder how they're going to shoot a lot of this stuff, because the one file from Batman v Superman, he was clearly holding his breath, and it was a L'Oreal commercial. So I'm just wondering how exactly they're going to do it.
It reminded me so much of Zoolander when you're watching that commercial. He's, moisture is the essence of wetness. What?
Yeah. It's just, so hopefully, because that wasn't directed by, who's the Aquaman director?
Oh, the director of Aquaman?
Yeah. Well,
shoot.
Well, he didn't direct that shot, so he didn't.
This isn't a Zack Snyder film.
Yes.
So I have to
Well,
be careful about which Snyder I'm saying, because
yes.
there's Zack and Scott, and they're both doing DC.
Yeah.
Scott Snyder is really nice.
He is really nice.
He's the writer. Zack
Okay.
Snyder hasn't said anything to us.
And you can obviously tell that he's not a writer. Boom!
Burn.
Got him.
Got him.
All right, so, but moving on to something that Zack Snyder definitely probably will have a hand in, Man of Steel 2 is officially in production, but Superman's dead. Anyway, we knew he wasn't going to stay dead for long, but
They couldn't even let us think he'd stay dead for like the end of Batman v
they
Superman.
couldn't.
Oh, floating dirt. Come on.
They couldn't even let us see him come back in a movie before they announced his next movie. Like, come on.
Right.
Like, I think this flows in perfectly with another point that David Ayers confirmed that Joker did kill Robin and Batman punches the teeth out, hence the grill. This goes on to another thing that don't tell me this. Show it to me. You're a filmmaker. Your job is to tell stories via film, and Death in the Family is a huge moment. Even if you just do it in a flashback and you don't want to do the entire storyline, show us. Have it have some emotional weight. It can be a huge character development moment for both Batman, Joker, and possibly whatever Robin is there right now.
Yeah, this just continues to prove a point I've made before with oversharing in kind of just our world right now, where they feel the need to tell us all this stuff before we get to the theaters. And now even they feel the need to tell us that movies are coming out before we even see like a dead character's coming back. Like, do we know he's coming back? Yes, because you effed up Batman v Superman and you killed him too early. But
and I know flashbacks
it's the whole point of,
because I know flashbacks can be very annoying, but it can be so useful in setting up like certain moments that you wouldn't want to tell an entire story. Like, in one of the good things that Arkham Knight actually did was when he's hallucinating and Joker basically reenacts the scene of killing Joke when he shoots Barbara in his head. That's really the one pivotal moment to show how Barbara became Oracle and how he just wanted to hurt Commissioner Gordon. Like, that one scene, you didn't need to go into anything else. Just the scene where he shows up, shoots her, and you're done. Like, it's all you needed. It really delves into Oracle, Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and the Joker all in one. And that's something that would have been great if they did it with this one. Like, if they just did like the crowbar scene for Death in the Family, or hinted at the crowbar scene, not did it, because I think that'd be kind of graphic for a movie.
Well, I mean, everyone's feeling a little more loose to go rated R, but yeah, you're right. Like, if you don't poorly use or overuse flashbacks, they can be a fantastic tool to tell backstory.
And you don't float kids up with bats either.
And no dream sequences, because we already had enough for the entire DCU and Batman v Superman.
Yes.
But we really need to stop harking on that one, because you know what?
It's like everything just goes back to it,
42 minutes.
Everything just goes back to it, though. That bugs us on why DC's failing in the movies right now. Anyway, moving on from the studio that's messing everything up to the studio that's doing things right at least half the time. Not Marvel Studios in the MCU, but Fox's Marvel division with the X-Men and Deadpool. Deadpool 2 is coming out, and it's really going to take all of the comic book sequels to the match, up to stepping up to the ring to take them out in some good satire, like how the original Deadpool took all comic book movies. And there can be a lot of fun things going on here, especially probably there's going to be the most over-the-top action sequences for no reason other than the fact that it has to be bigger. You know that joke's going to be in there. There's going to be some joke about how there was a character arc in the previous movie that somehow got forgotten in this one. Guarantee that one's going to be in there too. There's going to be a giant robotic Ron Perlman-esque person called Cable running around.
I hope it's Ron Perlman. They haven't said it, but I hope it's Ron Perlman.
Good. Ron Perlman or the guy from Avatar. He'd be a good one too. I don't know his name. He's just the bad guy Marine from Avatar.
Yeah.
I don't know his name. Oh, Scott Lang. Is that Scott Lang?
No one does.
Pretty sure Scott Lang. with an ironic name.
I was just thinking that's weird because that is the guy who is Ant-Man. So
No,
maybe
that's
not.
the character of Ant-Man, not the guy.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, I said the guy who is Ant-Man, Scott Lang, not the actor who plays Ant-Man, who is Paul Rudd. But
I'm looking this up now just because it's going to bug me.
I know it is. With the success of the first Deadpool
Stephen
movie,
Lang, not Scott Lang.
Stephen Lang. But with the success of the first Deadpool movie, I can only imagine they're going to have bigger budgets. They're going to be able to do more of the ridiculous shit that we love seeing.
It's not going to be such a ridiculous budget because they even stated how even the director wants to keep it as a smaller budget movie. They can, if doing more with less creates better quality than having too much and trying to inflate it. Because when the studio gives a movie more budget, they expect more in return, and they want to try to trim as much fat as possible so they can do whatever they want without too much studio overreach into it.
But maybe we can have 3 Avengers, or not Avengers, X-Men.
No, they're gonna make a joke about that. They're gonna make one more. One more is gonna show up besides Cable, and it's like, hey, someone increased their budget,
right? Like, oh my gosh, we can afford 3 of you now. Oh, this is weird.
Or actually it would be great if they went to actually on site to the mansion in Vancouver, not just did the green screen like they did in the movie. And it was like, wow, I'm actually here this time. I'm not in the studio. It looks so much clearer for real.
Right? That would be absolutely fantastic. I would love that.
The jokes write themselves.
They really do. And when you have a character who can break the fourth wall and just be that blunt, I mean, you don't even have to try that hard. But the great thing is the writers, the producers, the directors of Deadpool are trying their hardest to give us a great movie for the character we love. So as long as they don't try to mess with that and mess with kind of the model that they set up before, I can't see that one being a flop.
What if they dress up Hydra Bob in something that's supposed to resemble Captain America?
I would... well, you remember, he's not Hydra Bob. He's just Bob. They never said Hydra. Because that would get them sued by Marvel.
But that's the Disney joke. And that's why I said someone who is recognizable as a Captain America-like figure.
Make him some cheap knockoff Captain America.
Discount Captain. We need a discount Captain America. Make him Captain Nebraska or something.
Captain United States of America. Not the same guy. Not the same guy.
No, just Captain United States. No mention of America in there. Just Captain United States.
Or just America. All right. One last thing for our movie news. One last thing for our movie news. Came out today. Just saw this. The new Ghostbusters film is not projected to break even. Apparently their break-even number was $300 million, and they've grossed about $180 million. And with the amount of profit it's bringing in now, it does not look like it's actually going to hit that break-even mark. Which, if true, all I have to say is, good, stop making crappy remakes.
Yeah. The part is seeing it. It had potential. One of the people who were talking about Ghostbusters, I think, really hit it on the head was a Nostalgia Critic. If you haven't seen his take on it, and he pointed this out, and looking back, it's wow, this is dead on. It's you get a good moment with a good joke, followed immediately by a bad moment, which kills it, or a bad joke that kills it. And it does this every time. It follows up every good joke with a horrible one. And it just does this. It doesn't know when to quit with the jokes. There's one with the cameo of Dan Aykroyd. He's a taxi driver. And they're going in, and all of a sudden he does the Dan Aykroyd techno bobble. Out of nowhere. There's no way this taxi driver would know any of this. And it's really funny because you're not expecting him to do this. But then he has to say a cheesy one-liner immediately after. And you're just groaning in your seat. You're like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, unlike the originals where they thought of an idea and they just made a movie they were passionate about making, the studio wanted to kind of reboot the franchise again and make some more money just inherently off the name of that franchise.
But the thing is about the movie, its best parts are in the time it has absolutely no ties to the original. The time the movie like goes south is when it tries to pander to the original movie. Like bring up the fire station, all the forced cameos, with the exception of Slimer. Slimer was amazing. But like all that's when it goes down. When they were doing their own thing, the chemistry between all the women are amazing. If they had just tried to focus on that instead of trying to play like both hands, they would have had a much better movie.
Oh yeah. And I'm not saying don't ever reboot a series, but if you're going to, even though this wasn't technically a reboot of the Ghostbusters series, it was a reboot of the series.
It was a reboot.
Don't try to kind of recapture what made the original one great and kind of, do all those forced cameos, forced references, but do a story that you're passionate about in that series.
Like there's even proof that trying to do the same thing didn't work. It's called Ghostbusters 2. But anyway, we don't need to mention this horse has been beaten to death too by the entire internet and then some. We don't need our opinion is kind of, someone said it before no matter what. So moving on to the main discussion we want to have in today's Roll and Review show is DLC in video games. Is it a plague that is polluting our video games? Is it they fun little add-ons that we get to play after the fact? Or is it somewhere in the middle?
Well, and it depends on the studio.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It depends on the studio.
For me.
Yeah. Like obviously one of my favorite studios that is working right now is CD Projekt Red. And nobody can deny that the DLC for The Witcher 3 was not worth every cent you paid. You got a bunch of small stuff for free, like reskin of Yennefer, like more horses, more mounts, more of everything. But then when it came to the actual 2 bulk expansions with Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, you paid for DLC for 2 basically additional games that you got to play, especially with Blood and Wine, which you got a whole new area that is easily bigger than most of the games out, with exception of like the huge AAA ones like Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, and honestly, the unfortunate thing is I think studios like that are a minority in the gaming world.
Oh, they
Another one that is in that minority though, Hello Games, who just put out No Man's Sky, announced that all of their DLC is going to be free. They're not going to make you pay for anything else. There will be no paid DLC. So when they put new stuff in, if you have the game, you're getting it.
Which is, I'm glad they're saying that.
But honestly,
I'm wondering what the DLC is going to be, and I'm still on the fence about the game. Haven't picked it up yet, but I've heard a lot of mixed things. I like its ambition. I just want to see if it can execute.
Yeah, I mean, I have been playing it for the past 2 days now. I'm enjoying it, but is it the best game in the world? No, there's some really cool things they're doing with it, but it's missing a lot too, and there was a lot of confusion on multiplayer, no multiplayer, that got a lot of people upset. So while communication wasn't always great with those things with the company, the fact that they're just saying, listen, when we put out new stuff, new ships, new weapons, new everything, you're getting it. It doesn't matter. You bought the game, you're getting it. I love that. The unfortunate thing is the majority of companies are trying to pull the same thing that Call of Duty has for years. Destiny is done.
I think the worst offender of all that is Destiny.
Yeah, where essentially they only gave you part of the game and then said, here's the rest of it. Come buy it again because this is DLC.
Or also like fighting games like Mortal Kombat X was a huge also offender of this. Like you didn't even get everything that was even on your CD at purchase. you had to have some monetary like walls that you had to unlock via actual money. And I feel like this goes hand in hand with the rise of microtransactions. I think they're just making so much money off of this because we as gamers are being idiots. If we want them to stop doing stuff, stop giving them money. Your money is your grandest vote.
Yeah, and I think it really started with games that had these microtransactions that basically said, listen, you give us 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks, and we're just going to unlock all the guns for you. You don't have to do any of the work, which Call of Duty did for years. And you could tell because kids who sucked at the game had the best guns in the game, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. But they bought it. They bought their way to the best equipment, the best interesting skins, whatever. And then at that point, since they were making money off, they went, why don't we make more?
And I'm not against certain microtransactions, like the ones that if you want to buy like a specific skin, I don't care. As long as it's not like all in your face. Like what Assassin's Creed Unity was another huge one with microtransactions that it basically encouraged you to pay to win the game. And those are the ones I can't stand. But if it's like certain things, like some of the free-to-play games that don't make you pay to win the game, but it's just like for certain skins, this or that, like just like with Rocket League, there's sometimes you can buy like certain like types of cars. They don't give you any stat boosts or anything. It's just, this looks really cool. I want it. Those are okay. And I feel like a good way to find a happy medium with DLC and microtransactions is to stop pre-ordering. Because if we stop all this pre-order nonsense that they're doing right now, they're going to have less incentive to try to stick it down our throats, and they'll spend less money on it. And then the DLC we do get will be good.
Stopping pre-ordering is also going to, and also with not pre-ordering games, we're not essentially giving the company money before we even have a product. And I've heard this in interviews from developers, and not like the CEOs and the executives, but they say that if you want good playable games the day it's released, stop pre-ordering, because then the executives won't be pushing for them to release the games early so they can get their money.
Yeah, and that's why they're releasing things that seemingly you've got a game like on release date, you put it in to play it, and it acts like it hasn't even been beta tested yet. Because they're not putting in any of these efforts to make the game cohesive when they know that they can just release patches like the week of the game's release, and people just want the patch so they can keep playing. They don't care why that patch wasn't in there.
Yeah, and it's a problem I saw long ago, and the most obnoxious version of this was Dead Rising. Not Dead Rising, Dead Island.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah, Dead Rising is a totally different game. Actually, a pretty good game.
Yeah.
But Dead Island, where the first 2 weeks, the game wouldn't autosave, and there was no hard save feature in the game. And then what was even worse was, since they signed a contract with Microsoft for the Xbox that said the Xbox gets everything a month before PlayStation, Xbox players actually had a workable game at 2 weeks. But then PlayStation players had to wait another month. So the PlayStation players didn't have a workable game for a month and a half.
Yeah, and it's completely ridiculous. Like I say, one of the worst offenders is also Dead Island is a huge example, but then Assassin's Creed Unity again, where obviously that game was not finished. It was completely rushed out the door via some execs, and that's not what we want. And you can't cut off half your story and expect to sell it to us later. You can't do that, Destiny. Like, you can't sell these half a games and expect us to keep buying it. Or Battlefront, you worthless pieces of crap that you want to sell.
Yeah, and that's the
parts
main
of the game.
Problem. Yeah, and that's the main problem with DLC is it's no longer just weapons that you'll unlock later in the game anyway, or skins, but it is legitimately a story that we need just to finish the game, really. Yeah. And like we talked about earlier, Witcher, they had a full game. They put out a full game, and then for DLC, they went, here's another full game, and here's another full game. Like that's when I'm willing to spend money on DLC, when it's not, oh, I need this to finish the game, but I'm getting another game.
Yeah, I feel some of the best companies for DLC is that CD Projekt Red. Bethesda's pretty good at their DLC too. The stuff for Fallout 4, like those are insane, and it just adds to the gameplay. The Elder Scrolls has a history of amazing DLC between Shivering Isles, Dragonborn, Tribunal, Blood Moon, for even going back as far as Morrowind. They know how to do DLC. Or even going like Far Cry 3, when they basically reskinned everything to be an insane techno 80s action movie ridiculousness. Like that's the DLC fun. When you take your game completely, like just throw a huge another spin on it. It's like, here, have an entirely another game just for fun.
When it comes down to it, again, like I said, that's when I'll buy DLC. I won't buy DLC anymore for the most part, like, except if it's from one of these trusted companies. But that can go so quick if they put out a game that, well, you need DLC to finish it, or they're breaking up the story, or they're just giving us parts.
And with that, I will have to say, after looking a lot into the new Batman game from Telltale, I am so sick and tired of their episodic business model, which is essentially just you pay as you go to play the story, and I'm just kind of tired of it. Their story isn't good enough to keep me interested for like another month or whenever they're going to release the next episode.
Yeah, the problem I see with that is, unlike games like the new Hitman game, where yes, they're releasing every month, the story isn't really replayable.
Yeah,
you can't go in there and spend time playing. It's not, or if it is, you're just sitting there like, can I skip faster?
Yeah.
I just want to get to see what the other outcomes are to my choices.
Yeah, story-based games really aren't meant to be episodic unless you're releasing like a new one every week. Then I could maybe see that, but like a monthly episodic thing, no, like that's what made Hitman no subtitle like pretty good right now. Is not only did they give you giant levels for their episodic thing, you can still go to that original level and find things to do. And if you can't, just grab a fire axe and start killing people, and you will have loads of fun doing it.
That's my favorite way to play that game.
Yeah, that is his favorite way. He doesn't care about any of the actual targets. He just wants to find a fire axe and find ways to just take out an entire floor of people because he can. And that's...
Hey, I cared about the target until the game upset me because it wasn't very clear on what I was supposed to be wearing to take out this target. And I got upset and just decided to use the fire axe to its fullest capabilities.
Yes, and the fire axe has more efficient capabilities than some of the other weapons in this game.
Because when you aim to throw it, it pretty much puts it right at their head anyway.
It's a guaranteed hit. It's a guaranteed hit.
Grab. Dead. It is.
Yeah, and this is the type of stuff we want. If you're going to go episodic or something like that, that's it. You need to have stuff that you just want to play around and have fun until the next part comes out. Because then it's a treat when it comes out. It's not a necessity.
Yeah. And like I know when it was free games of the month, like the Telltale Walking Dead game, like I enjoyed it at the time, but I played through it in a few days. And I was like, free game of the month. Sitting here on my hands like, so that's it? Like, yeah. Really? At least with like Paragon, which is I think last month's free game for PlayStation. Well, at least it was like a MOBA, so I could at least like jump on there and be like, oh, it's League of Legends, but in third person up close. Like,
maybe it's just the current culture we have that we're so spoiled with Netflix. We're not used to like the week by week drama. Like the only one that can really seem to hold out on that is Game of Thrones. And even then people are like, I need it now. And that's even weekly. That's not a month. If one episode of Game of Thrones came out a month, the show would die.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a point now that gamers aren't, I don't think are going to take it. I feel like Telltale's going to start seeing their games kind of teeter off. Especially with something like Batman, it's not gonna stick. Especially the combat in the game, it kind of sucks. It's basically all quick time events for combat.
Yeah, and I mean, at least with that Telltale games, there's not much innovation when it
No,
comes to the new games,
it
and
just looks really pretty.
right? But it's the same reason why I think a lot of sports games aren't doing as well as they used to be. The Lego games don't get tons of praise, and I mean they're good games, but
They're the
not
same thing.
doing
Nothing has
super
changed.
well either
Nothing
because
has changed.
nothing has changed, and so you're essentially selling us the same game over and over and over again, which essentially is what DLC is doing anyway too. They're just selling us the same game over and over again. And that really needs to stop. I mean, sports wise, there's only so much you can do to kind of reinvent yourself because the same basic rules have to continue to apply.
Yeah. But quick tangent, I know it has nothing to do with DLC with sports games, but you want your sports game to be good? Just make a good game. Make something that has good physics. Make an experience that makes you feel like you're playing football, not you're playing a pickup game in an empty stadium.
I mean, and something I suggested to a friend a few weeks ago, why not put a new sports game out like every other year? It gives you time to actually try to do new things without trying to rush to get the next game out. And it's not like you can't keep updating the roster because they're doing that right now anyway. The second you connect to the internet and you're on a sports game, it updates the roster for you. So it's not like they can't do that. Yeah, maybe they'll have to put some like input for the new draft class, but that's minuscule compared to, hey, we're going to make a new game every year and try to be reinventing ourselves. Like it's okay to push yourself back and just update the rosters.
That would actually be DLC I'd be okay with. You make a game every other year, but then you pay $5 for the new roster come the next season.
Yeah, that'd be DLC. I'd be happy to buy.
Perfect DLC.
I would gladly buy it.
Yeah, because then it's
NHL, Madden. Yeah, happy.
Don't have to buy a whole new game. Don't have to do any of this. It would work out.
Plus, and when you finally do buy a new game, it's something new.
Yeah. Or it just looks so much better. The physics are so much better. Like there is actual innovations. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, was it MLB The Show? They've committed to really over 5 years, really reinventing the game. Small changes every year, but it's a 5-year plan for them.
Yeah. NHL did a good job last year.
Other sports games, you just don't see that kind of commitment.
I say NHL has really, because after 2 years ago when the game really kind of sucked, they really said, well, we screwed up. We have to do this over. And they made a good game. So I'm hoping this one coming up it's a good game. I'm definitely going to be one of those, the only sports game I'm going to pick up this year is going to be NHL.
Yeah. But, I mean, again, getting back to DLC, like we said, an updated roster at the beginning of the new season with the new draft class would be DLC we're happy to buy, even if it's $15, because it's still better than buying a $60 game every year. That's essentially the same thing. However, I'm done. I'm done buying games and buying DLC when I need both of them to actually finish the main story. If I can't finish the story on the game alone, I'm done. I'm selling it back to GameStop. I'm not going to deal with it.
Yeah, we need to support good companies that make good DLC. Support the Bethesda, support the CD Projekt Reds. They're doing a good job. That's the type of people we need to be giving our money to. People who just add, but it's not anything that's required from the base game.
Yeah, and like Hello Games, who gave us 18 quintillion systems and planets to go explore, and then even then said, we're not going to make you pay for anything else. They already gave us far more than most games do in content, because literally chances are you're not going to run into anyone else's planets, let alone actually explore the whole place. It's impossible to explore the whole place unless you have some ungodly vitality that keeps you alive for like 1,000 years or something like that, and you do nothing from here on out but play that game.
I'd be worried for you if that's the decision you made with the increased vitality.
Right? If that's the case, you have done something terribly wrong.
Yes. Anyway, thanks guys for listening to the show. Hopefully we'll be getting much more consistent content out there now that obviously I have finally made the move. So looking forward to putting more stuff out there.
Yeah, welcome to Kentucky.
Woo!
Absolutely. And again, thank you
I'm
guys
not
for
drunk.
watching.
What are you talking about?
This is Scott Snyder. If you're still watching at this point, hit subscribe. Just like everybody else, hit subscribe. Give us a like. Tell us what you think down in the comments below. And if you do, we will respond because it goes to my phone. So literally my phone won't stop bugging me. So if you want to bug me, comment down below.
Audience pandering, audience pandering, audience pandering. All right, guys.
Oh, of course.
See y'all later.